Unity, only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright.
Welcome along to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It is a one-off series, this. We just thought we'd do it for fun in the build-up to this season. And it's Toon Teasers, the NUFC Matters quiz show. And there is something up for grabs. It is for fun, but there is this wonderful trophy, which has been kindly presented by John Justice Allen, obviously the guy who runs our website, nufcmatters.com. So there is something to play for, apart from pride, George. So you are the first person to record one. How are you feeling?
Okay, slightly befuddled after sitting up all night watching the match, but I'm all right. I'm looking forward. It's a great. I like a bit of fun, you know that, Steve. So let's do it. Let's do it.
Battle commence. Well, we're recording this, as I say. The Newcastle obviously just played a friendly last night, so we are recording these, which means that those of you in the chat who want to join in and want to shout out the answers in the chat means you can do that without spoiling the competition. Not everybody on the platform is going to go out. I think I've limited it down to myself. I'm the quiz master. You've got George, we've got Steve Hasty, we've got Neil Mitchell, we've got Stu Penman, we've got Steve Wilkinson, and we've got Kevin Chilvers this time round. So six of the NUFC Matters team are going to give it a go. So let's see how George does. We're going to have 3 rounds. The first round is a Newcastle United round with all questions specifically about Newcastle United. The second round is a general knowledge round about football in general. It could be a question about any football club, any competition. And the third is a picture round. And those pictures, well, there'll be players who used to play for Newcastle. Some of them you might recognise, some of them you might not. And also there'll be some youngsters chucked in there. Footballers as bands, footballers as kids. So it's a little bit of a wide range of one. Some are easy, some are hard, but I guess it depends how good your knowledge is. So are you ready, George, to crack on?
I am. Let's go.
All right. Okay. So your Newcastle United round, George. Question 1 is, what year were Newcastle United founded?
1892.
Okay, so George has answered 1892. We'll move on to question 2. Question 2. Alan Shearer scored his first goal for Newcastle United in a friendly. Who was it against?
Go.
I'll tell you what, George, while you think and knock the TV off, mate, because I can hear that.
Sorry, I'm miles away. Like I said, my brain's not entirely here. That's it.
I'll repeat the question. Alan Shearer scored his first goal for Newcastle United in a friendly. Who was it against?
My mind says Celtic, Steve.
Okay, George's answer is Celtic. I'll just mark that down. Okay, moving on to question 3. Manchester United beat Newcastle United 2-0 in the 1999 FA Cup final. But who scored the second goal for the Reds?
God, I should know I was there with the crowd. I was the chauffeur for them. Indeed, they got me into trouble after the match. I'll tell you that when I've given my answer. I think it was Ryan Giggs. Don't know why, but
okay, no problem. That's your answer for that one.
Do you want to? Well,
tell us the story. Yeah.
Well, after the match, the lot I used to take, there were about 5 of them, and they were bad losers. I mean, worse than me. So they get in the car, this big car I hired to take them. And I said, "Oh, come on, George, get out the car park. Come on." So I get this big black vehicle and I edge it into the traffic. And this policeman waves us into the traffic. And we're driving along in this row of cars. And all of a sudden, now Neil says to me, "Have you seen who's in the back of that car in front of her?" I said, "No, I haven't noticed." He says, "It's the Duke and Duchess of Kent." I'd got into the royal party by being too quick. No sooner had he said that, and this big policeman put his hand up. He's had enough gold braid on his hat and his shoulders to pay off my mortgage. Guided us into an old bus garage. And I was surrounded by policemen, some of them with guns and everything, and wound down the window. And of course, I was giving me explanations. Well, one of your lads waved us into the stream. You know, that's how I got there. And eventually they accepted it and they let us go. Well, what they didn't know, and he kept his gob shut. In the back of the car was one of our Neil's mates, who was a policeman up here, quite a senior policeman up here, and he had his warrant card, and he sat there saying nothing. So as I'm getting back on the A1, I said to him, "When were you going to open your mouth?" He says, "Well, I was waiting for them to put the rubber gloves on and started an internal search." So sorry about that, but these are the stories that make Newcastle United for us, you know.
Yeah, no, of course they are. Of course they are, George. Okay. Question 4. Newcastle United won the cup 3 times in the 1950s. 1951, 1952, and 1955. Which year did Joe Harvey not play in the cup final?
55.
George's answer is 55. And we'll move on to question 5. Who was Newcastle United's 5th manager in their history?
5th, right. Gosh. It's a good one.
Take your time, George.
Might have been Seymour. Might have been Stan Seymour.
Is that your final answer, George?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, I'll mark that down. And question 6. Where did Newcastle United first play their home games?
Oh, well, it was an amalgamation of Newcastle West End and East End, and I think the prime place was the West End, which was out somewhere towards Fenham, you know, somewhere up that way. So I don't know the place exactly, but somewhere in the West End of Newcastle.
Okay. And question 7. Which team did Newcastle United defeat to win the 1951 FA Cup final?
Oh, Arsenal.
It's the 1951 Cup final, George. Is Arsenal your final answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
George Robledo scored a winning goal.
And question 8. Alan Shearer scored his first Newcastle United hat-trick against Leicester City. But when was this? I'll take the year as your answer.
Right. Oh, gosh. It's taking some thinking about. '92.
92?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll mark that down as your answer, George.
That's fine.
Question 9. Newcastle United were in Division 2 in season 1990-91. But where did they finish?
In 1990-91. Oh, I should know this off heart. I don't think it was a particularly good year. 14th.
14th?
Yeah.
Okay. Your final question in the Newcastle United round is: Newcastle United got to the final of the Intertoto Cup in 2002, but they lost on away goals. To who in the final?
Can't make me mind it whether it was a French or a team or an Italian team. French team. Mertz, I think, French team.
You going for Is it Met?
Mets, yeah.
Right. Okay. I've marked that down. Okay, that's your start of a 10, as Bamba
Good
Pascal
grief.
would say.
Feel like I've been through a bloody mangle.
It's not easy, George. It's not easy when you get put under the pressure.
No.
Not at all.
Good. It's a sort of exercise I like, Steve. So
well, that's good. Yeah, it is good. All right. We are going to move on to the general knowledge round. And the general knowledge round, as I mentioned earlier, is Newcastle United. Well, not Newcastle United questions, general football questions. So if you're ready, George, we'll start this section of the show. Okay. The Scudetto is the name given to the league title in which European country?
Scudetto. Italy.
George's answer is Italy. I'll mark his answer down and move on to question 2. Which club did Alan Shearer win the Premier League title with?
Oh, Blackburn Rovers was,
Blackburn Rovers is your answer, and I'll mark that down. Question 3. Red Bull own a football club based in which Austrian city?
Salzburg, I think.
Salzburg is George's answer. And we're moving on to question 4. Who was the first goalkeeper to score in an FA Cup tie?
First goalkeeper to score in an FA Cup tie.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Had to be a penalty. Be one of the crackers. Joe Corrigan's on the tip of my tongue. I don't know why, but Joe Corrigan, Manchester City, was on the tip of my tongue. On mute, Steve. You're on mute, Steve.
Okay, I've marked your answer down, which is Joe Corrigan, but question 4. Question
fine.
5. Which 2 teams play in the Barcelona derby?
Oh, it's Barcelona and Espanyol.
Okay, Barcelona and Espanyol is George's answer for question 5. Moving on to question 6. Which footballer has won the Premier League with both Leicester City and Manchester City?
Oh, it's a good one. Oh, the lad that's just transferred, Mahrez.
Mahrez is George's answer. I'll mark that down and move on to question 7. Which former FIFA World Player of the Year became president of his home country in 2018?
President of his home country. Gosh, that's a good one. It's got to be South American, surely. I want to say South American. It wasn't Pelé. Don't think it was Maradona either. I want to say Brazil, but I can't think of the name of the player I'm thinking about. Oh, come on. Garrincha pops into my mind, so I say Garrincha, Brazil.
Okay, I'll mark that down. Garrincha. George's answer. As we'll move on to question 8. Which player had 13 years between his 2 Champions League wins in 1995 and 2008?
2008. That's a good one. Oh. Trying to think some of the all stars, that have been in around that long.
I guess if you follow the Champions League and you know who played in the finals, it's half the battle.
Yeah,
You've got to work your way through the squads, which can be difficult.
Yeah, it's no, I'll have to pass on that one, Steve. That's got us all together, I'm afraid.
Worth giving a guess, George, even if you don't know. I mean, it's clearly a player who plays for a club, I guess. So
yeah. Zinedine. Oh, let's see, Zinedine.
Okay, I've marked that down, George. Question 9. Who was the first striker to score 100 Premier League goals for 2 different clubs?
2 different clubs. Premier League striker.
You work your way through the list. There's not many who scored 200.
No. That's right. But for 2 clubs, that makes it quite different,
Yeah.
I'll say Wayne Rooney.
Okay. Wayne Rooney is George's answer. And final question on the general knowledge round: how many times have England won the UEFA Women's Championship?
Once.
And once is George's answer. Okay, that concludes the general knowledge round, and we are going to go to a quick ad break, and we'll be back with the picture round after this. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at skipsandbins.com or telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website skipsandbins.com. Easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Big thanks to Mr. Vicky's, sauces handmade in Cumbria. You can order them from their website, mrvickys.co.uk, or by telephoning 01768 210 102. A big thanks also to New Workwear. You can find them at newworkwear.com. They are an agile and dedicated workwear provider. Welcome back as well to United Travel. They are a UK coaches firm, and they are based in the Northeast. They've got 2024 tours, and you can contact them on 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Email info@unitedgrouptravel.com, and they've got a website which is unitedgrouptravel.com. There's no strangers on their tours, just people you haven't met yet. Big thanks to them for their sponsorship. Big thanks as well to Media Arts, and they supply all the video technology. If you want to become a member and get a cup, a pen, a membership card, and a scarf, then get your smartphone and put it over this QR code. It will take you straight to the membership pack. It's a £25 one-off fee. You can also go to NUFC Matters website and search membership pack to book today. If you want to help the channel, then subscribe to it by hitting the subscribe button. Hit the thumb up under the video to like the video, and click share to share to your other social media. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. Don't forget, we help the food bank on this channel. If you want to do so virtually, go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk and make a donation today. The Alan Shearer raffle is back on. 150 tickets, £1 a ticket. Win a limited edition signed Alan Shearer ball. Enter today at nufcmatters.com. And a lot of people ask how you can help the channel. We always play this little video to let you know how you can do it.
We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Okay, we are into the final round of the quiz. George kindly agreeing to do the first one. So this is a picture round, George, where I put up a photograph of, well, some will be former Newcastle players, some will be players who have played for other clubs. It's a bit of a mixture of a picture board. So some are easy, some are difficult. But without further ado, I will give you picture number one. Who's that?
Oh my goodness. That's a champagne drunk Lee Clark, I think.
Okay, I'm marking that down. Lee Clark. Okay, the next one is a young person, a young boy, who went on to become a very famous footballer. Who is it?
Good one, that. Gosh.
Not for Newcastle.
No. Gary Lineker, I think.
Okay, Gary Lineker is George's answer as we go on to question picture 3. What I found looking at these is some of them do actually still look very like that.
Yeah.
Now, but again, this isn't a Newcastle player.
Both the same person.
Both
obviously.
the same, yeah. Just trying to help you by giving you.
That's
sometimes
all right.
Sometimes there's more than one.
Is that a very young George Best? That's the answer. George Best.
George Best is George's answer for that one. Picture 4. Again, no Newcastle connection with this player.
Right. Wow. Feel as though I should know it, the face. Is it Eusebio when he was young?
Okay, I'll put that down as your answer. Eusebio. Okay, picture 5. Former Newcastle player.
Oh, come on, George. No, that one, surely. Ray Blackhall, I think.
Ray Blackhall. It's George's answer. I'll mark that down. Okay, next one. Picture 6.
Oh, come on. Oh. Good grief. See them on the telly often enough.
We have spoken about them recently on a podcast.
Yeah. No, I can't get it out, Steve. I'm really stuck with that one. I know who it is that won't come on the tip of my tongue. So
Okay.
let's pass on.
Okay, the next one, another former Newcastle player in the news this week, actually.
Really? Well, he looks he's got something to do with Spain by the background. week. Well, I've got to give you an answer, Steve. So, Marcelino, I'll say.
Yeah. Question 8. Picture 8. Another former Newcastle player.
Yeah, the X is important when you look at the figure, isn't it?
Yeah. We have been speaking about him recently, George.
Guaranteed, yes, yeah.
And those were the days.
Yeah. Kenny Wharton.
Okay, George's answer is Wharton. As we move on to picture 9. This is him on the day that he signed.
Goodness gracious.
Clearly didn't leave a lasting impression, George.
No. Well, I have a feel it's Henry Civet or whatever they call him.
Okay, Henry Civet, is that your final answer, George?
Yeah.
Okay. Last one to finish your quiz today. Who's this young lad?
Wow.
Former Newcastle player.
Got the smile, I get that, yeah. Oh, I've got to have a shot. Glenn Keely.
Glenn Keely?
Yeah.
Final answer. Okay, George, that completes your quiz today. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back through your questions and give the answers and give the correct answer. Very difficult, George, isn't it? Especially being up first, I guess.
No, it's all right.
Okay. So what year, when Newcastle United founded, you gave the correct answer, George, on that one, 1892. Of course, Newcastle West End and East End merged to form one club. Question 2. Alan Shearer scored his first goal for Newcastle United in a friendly, but who was it against? The correct answer was Lincoln City, not Celtic, as you answered, George. So no point for that one. Question 3. Manchester United beat Newcastle United 2-0 in the 1999 FA Cup final, but who scored the second goal for the Reds? Your answer was Ryan Giggs, but it was the Flamehead midfielder who got the second goal.
Scholes, of course.
It was Paul Scholes.
Should have known, yeah.
Okay, question 4. Newcastle United won the Cup 3 times in the 50s, 51, 52 and 55, of course, but which year did Joe Harvey not play? George answered 1955, and he was correct. 1955 was the year that Joe Harvey didn't play.
Yeah, Jimmy Schooler captained that side.
Question 5, I asked George, who was Newcastle United's 5th manager? George had a feeling it was Stan Seymour, who, of course, played a pivotal role in those early years at St James's Park, but the answer between 1954 and 1956 was, of course, Doug Livingston.
Oh, and that goes with the cup final as well, because they sacked him just before the 55 cup final because he wouldn't play Jackie Milburn. Oh, yeah. God.
Question 6. Where did Newcastle United first play their home games? George couldn't give a place. He suggested it was the West End. But between 1881 and 1886, Newcastle played their home games in South Byker.
Oh, right.
Question 7. Which team did Newcastle United defeat to win the 51 Cup final? George answered Arsenal. George was right. Arsenal, with Robledo getting the winner.
So much so, he ended up on the front of one of the Beatles albums.
Correct, yeah, that's right. John Lennon doing the painting, of course.
Yeah.
Question 8. Alan Shearer scored his first Newcastle United hat-trick against Leicester City, but when was this? George said 1992. I said I was happy to take the year. 5 years out, George. Unfortunately, of course, Alan Shearer didn't sign until the mid-90s.
Of course he didn't. Of course
the hat-trick against Leicester was the 2nd of February, 1997. Question 9. Newcastle United were in Division 2 in season 1990-91. Where did they finish? George said 14th, but Newcastle finished slightly higher in 11th place.
Right.
And the last question in the Newcastle United round was Newcastle United got to the final of the Intertoto Cup in 2002, but lost on away goals to who in the final? George answered Met, but the answer was Troyes. Of course, Newcastle drew 0-0 in the away fixture. Found themselves 4-1 down in the home game, got back to 4-4, but lost out to Mets. Okay, general knowledge. Question 1.
I can't believe I was at that game, though. Never mind.
Question 1. The Scudetto is the name given to the league title in which European country? George said Italy. That was correct. Italy was the answer. Question 2. Which club did Alan Shearer win the Premier League title with? George said Blackburn, and Blackburn was the correct answer. Question 3. Red Bull own a football club based in which Austrian city? George said Salzburg. The answer was indeed Salzburg. Question 4. Who was the first goalkeeper to score in an FA Cup tie? George fancied Joe Corrigan, but unfortunately for him, it was Alan Cooling in 1977 for Hampton.
All right. Right.
Question 5. Which two teams play in the Barcelona derby? Barcelona and Espanyol was the answer, and George got that right. And question 6. Which footballer has won the Premier League with both Leicester City and Manchester City? George answered correctly when he said Riyad Mahrez.
Can I tell you a story about Mahrez?
Go on.
On a match I was watching on the telly, he was taking a corner and the camera focused on the back of his neck. And I could see like a shiny lump on the back of his neck. So I messaged Gary, what's his name, from Manchester United, who does the commentary, and told him, tell that lad to go and see a doctor. He's got a cyst on the back of his neck. And he's had it taken off. And Gary, what's his name, emailed us to say he'd done it. Yeah.
Okay.
Amazing.
Great stuff. Question 7 was which former FIFA World Player of the Year became president of his home country in 2018? George suggested it might be Garincha. That was his answer. It, in fact, was George Weah.
Oh, of course. Goodness gracious, yes. Yeah.
Question 8. Which player had 13 years between his two Champions League wins in 95 and 2008? George, at a push, said Zidane, but it was the goalkeeper, Edwin van der Sar.
Ah, yeah, right.
And question 9. Who was the first striker to score 100 Premier League goals for two different clubs? George said Wayne Rooney, but the answer was a little more close to home. Alan Shearer.
Oh.
Blackburn, of course.
Of course, yeah.
And question 10. How many times have England won the UEFA Women's Championship? George answered once, and he is correct. Once in 2022. So a slightly better round for George in the general knowledge as we moved on to the picture round. And first up was this. Lee Clark was George's answer, of course. That's Lee Clark celebrating promotion in 92, 93 on the way to the Civic Centre.
Yeah, he's got the trophy in his hand. Yeah.
Picture 2, slightly difficult. Gary Lineker was George's answer. In fact, it was the goalkeeper, David De Gea.
Ah, goodness gracious, what a change.
This young lad, George fancied it to be George Best, is in fact Juan Mata.
Wow. Yeah. Once you get the name, you can see it, can't you?
You can see it, can't you? Yeah. And picture 4. Eusebio was George's suggestion, but it in fact was Mario Balotelli.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see that one as well.
Okay, we'll move on to the Newcastle United pictures in the second half of the pictures. The guy who looks as if he's moving house isn't Ray Blackhall, as George suggested. It is, in fact, the winger, Wayne Faraday.
Ah, right.
This guy really got George stumbled, didn't know who it was. Probably best known for his time at Leeds. It is, of course, Ian Baird.
Well, it stumbled is because I do know who it is. That's the trouble. That's and you're right. We've talked about it more than once recently. So, but I just couldn't spit it out. Never mind.
This guy, again, difficult one for George. He got the Spanish connection, but couldn't get much else. Marcelino was his answer. Unfortunately, it wasn't Marcelino. It was Albert Luque.
Now you know where it is. That was one of the names that ran through my head. But yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
And this one, picture 8. Wasn't Kenny Wharton, George. It was, of course, part of the smallest front line that we ever had in the 80s, John Robertson.
Goodness gracious. Yes, of course it is. Yeah. Well, and yeah, he wasn't with me very long.
He wasn't. Picture 9. Wasn't Henry Savey. Cassapa.
Yeah.
And again, as I said, when I asked you the question as to who it was, didn't cover himself in glory and probably best forgotten, George.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's what led us to Henry Savey, actually, but never mind. He was the same, though. Yeah.
And the young lad with a can of Coke and the smile and the cup in his hand wasn't Glenn Keeley. And if you look closely, when I tell you that it was Andy Carroll, you'll see exactly Andy Carroll standing in front of you.
Yeah.
Great stuff, George. Yes. Great stuff.
Well, I've enjoyed that, Steve.
It was good. It certainly gets the old matter, the brain matter going, George.
Certainly does. But,
absolutely fantastic. Well, I'm sure people in the chat will tot up your answers and tot up what you've got. We'll do that. We'll do that at the end of the process once everybody's done it, and I'll announce the winner. But for now, George, thanks for joining us on the Toon Teasers, and best of luck, mate. Take care.
Thoroughly enjoyed it, Steve. Thank you very much.